All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Lexie Jordan.
And I'm Danni Ryan.
And this is our podcast called You Don't Look It. It's kind of a hodgepodge podcast about a little bit of everything. Each week, we're going to each tell one story. One of us is going to tell a historical story, whether that's about a person or, an invention or something like that kind of has a crazy story. And one of us will tell a personal story. But yeah, so this week, Danni will be telling a personal story and I will be telling a historical one. And we do not know what each other's story is before. So we are hearing it first thing, just like you are. So all of our reactions are completely genuine. But yeah, Danni, do you want to tell them why we decided to name our podcast this?
Yeah, so our podcast, You Don't Look It, is named after a phrase we hear very often as disabled individuals. Both Lexie and I have invisible disabilities, and we both use service dogs, which is how we met. And we often get asked if we are training the service dogs because we are younger women who appear fine. And when the person asking that question hears that we are in fact disabled and that they are our dogs, we're usually met with, you don't fucking look disabled, or, something aggressive, or suggesting that we are faking and cheating the system to bring our animals in public.
Yes, and other times even when they're like, oh, you don't look disabled, as if it's like a compliment.
Yes.
Or something. And it's like, okay,
I think that's yeah.
No.
I really think that one bothers me less than the aggression. But yeah,
they both definitely piss me off.
They both piss me off, but the aggression one really just it sets me over the edge. Yeah. That one like instills fear in me. Like, I am a child in the second grade and the teacher is calling me out in front of the class for doing something like sleeping or chewing on a pencil or not paying attention. Like,
yeah, seriously. Like, when people make those comments, it makes me second guess myself, and I'm like, am I not disabled enough? Quote, like, quote.
And then I hulk out, and then I like go for a walk or something, and then I can't walk for 3 days, and I'm like, oh, right.
Mood. Maybe I am disabled. Yep.
Maybe they did get me right. Maybe I actually am disabled.
But yeah, so we figured that would be a nice little name. And we thought it also was kind of cool because it played off of like that being a big part of our lives, because being disabled is a big part of our lives. And another little aspect was we have some crazy stories to tell you guys and tell each other. And a lot of times when we tell stories like this and you look at some like people like us, you're like, you don't look like you'd have a really crazy life, but we do.
Oh, yes. And fair warning for some of our listeners, no viewers, you can't see us, is that some of the stories, we will always put a warning beforehand, but some of the stories may be disturbing. We are the kind of people that joke about terrible things that happen to us.
Yeah, because my mother's not pleased about that.
Yeah. Oh no, it never fails to be an awkward encounter with my family. But I mean, if that's how you cope, that's how you cope. That's certainly how we cope. And we find it hysterical.
Yeah. So if we joke about things, just know like we definitely have both sympathy and empathy for people who have gone through these things, especially things that we've gone through. And our jokes are not meant to downplay any of that. It's just how we cope. And we're hoping that other people out there with some dark humor can enjoy our hilarious but not so hilarious stories.
Yeah. They're funny in retrospect, and they're funny because we've recovered. But exactly. Definitely understand people that don't enjoy talking or joking about these subjects because, they're not fun.
Exactly. So some stories, as Danni said, we will always trigger warning before, but some stories will be more lighthearted while others will be a bit heavier. We'll try and keep the first few episodes or so, pretty lighthearted so we don't lose you guys.
Pretty tame.
Pretty tame. So Danni is telling a personal story today. So, Danni, let's hear this. I want to know what's going on.
Yes, this is what we call the bakery incident of 2016.
Ooh.
It is a harrowing tale of
It
working
sounds like one.
in a small German bakery.
Ooh.
I know. And as a German
Back to
person,
your roots.
I know. I'm like, oh, I am German. I know all these foods, except for I don't because they put too much sugar in everything. And Americans apparently don't like nuts in their sweets. So nothing has nuts in it. So it really isn't authentic at all. And the only thing authentic German about it is the name of the bakery.
Don't even get me started on people doing authentic, like Americanizing this stuff. I have some beef with how people celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the United States. As a very Irish woman,
Oh,
you don't eat corned
Oktoberfest
beef
too.
and hash. You
I know,
eat
I'm like,
ham.
You can't, you weak people. You don't even understand how it should actually be celebrated.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Continue. Tell me about this bakery, this German bakery.
Yes.
That's not so German.
Yeah. The only thing German in it was the people, and I don't even know if you could call them German because they didn't really speak German. So, I mean, I'm not like bragging or anything either. Like, I speak redneck German and I am illiterate. So, and my German's not good either.
Redneck German.
Yes. Okay. So we come from a small village in Bavaria and we speak a dialect and we sound like Hicks.
I love it.
It's great.
I will have to hear this someday because that's amazing sounding.
My pronunciation, I understand much more than I can speak. And when I do speak, I sound stupid. So
me with Spanish. It took 5 years of Spanish, but
me too.
Not
and
the best speaker.
I can only ask for the bathroom and more beer. So
those are the important things.
The important things, truly. Okay. Anyway, back to this German bakery. I was working here for about a year, and you know, it was okay. It was an okay job. I was getting paid more than minimum wage. Actually, was
nice. We'll take that.
Yeah, I was getting paid about like $10 an hour, which is great because South Carolina in minimum wage was probably about $7.30 at the time.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad.
I think it's pretty low here too.
Yeah.
In case you guys. We didn't say. Danni and I are actually from two different states. Danni is living in South Carolina, and I live in New Hampshire. So this is
East
a
Coast.
long distance podcast. Yeah, East Coast.
Somewhere on the East Coast, that's where we are.
Exactly.
Anyway, so yeah, this bakery job was okay. I probably got about 2 days of training where I truly didn't learn anything, and you know,
the best kind.
The normal kind of like training you would get in any kind of food service, which is not much. And so I often messed up, and I was not great at asking for help. This was a really hard year for me. 2016, I had just failed out of high school just about, and I did graduate, but I had to graduate in the middle of summer.
Yes. Still graduating.
And I had gotten
out of girl.
I know. And I had gotten out of like a year-long, really terrible relationship. So like I was not great at like communicating with others at this point in time. So I often just messed up and did not ask for help. And I would just continue with the dumpster fire like it was fine.
Be like, okay, let's go. Moving on.
Yeah. And see, I was really friendly with customers. Like I was never rude. I never like said anything rude. Like I was helpful. I didn't smile a lot, but I still don't smile a lot unless I'm genuinely really happy or something is really funny. And so I often had this one manager who we're going to call Rachel come up to me and tell me to smile all the time. And she would try to reprimand me on other things, but then she would end up backpedaling because I never actually did anything else wrong other than not smiling. So it was actually
like out of all problems to have with an employee that like you should be thankful. That's the
you should
problem.
be thankful because like a lot of people in food service like do hard drugs around here.
It's really true though.
Like especially around here in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, South Carolina. Drugs are like the only thing to do. So that's what they do.
Do drugs and work in food service.
It's the way. Anyway.
The way of life.
So this story really goes into how I got fired.
There's
There's a few other stories, such as like, our recurring problems with angry boomers, amputees, and the man who licks.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Which, if I have time to get into, I definitely will. But during this time, like, I was suffering from a facial tic, which I realized happens when I get very, very stressed out and like can't handle my shit. And it kind of looks like I'm rolling my eyes, where my eyes, like, it almost looks like nystagmus, except for it goes like upward and shakes. And I also have a rib issue where I did steel-boned Victorian style corseting for many years, and I did not use a custom corset, nor was I very careful about tight lacing, and I pushed my ribs in. So if you do hear me sighing throughout the podcast, it is literally because I cannot breathe. So
yeah, Danny's not like displeased with me or anything.
No, I literally can't breathe. So I often sound like I am gasping for air, and I'm like, I've realized that through our test runs, I have to slow myself down so I can continue to breathe.
Yeah, we don't want anyone dying on here.
Oh, I just pass out. It's okay. Anyway, sometimes these two things have an unfortunate overlapping, where it looks like I'm sighing and rolling my eyes. So this is really the catalyst to
oh goodness,
my getting fired. So it was one day, and it was probably, I think it actually was around Easter. I think before I thought it was around 4th of July, but I think this one really was around Easter, where I was stacking cookies into the cookie tray that goes into that clear window in the front so that people can look and go, oh, I want that one. And so I was power stacking very, very fast. And I had my head down, and we had just hired a bunch of teenagers that were, getting hired in early spring for their summer jobs. And Rachel comes up and she's like, can one of you girls please stand up to the counter and get some orders, because these people are waiting. And I looked up because I was like, oh shit, how many people we got? Because I'm going to be the one carrying the team right now, because nobody knows what they're doing.
Yas, queen.
Carry the team, girl. And then I had the eye thing, and then I sighed. And I thought my manager saw me, but I wasn't sure. So I continued to look up to make it look like I was just looking up, like I wasn't rolling my eyes. Like, it was fine.
That's a good idea.
I was like, play it off. Play it off. Have a recovery. Right. So anyway, like 2 or 3 months go by, and it's probably around, the 4th of July at this time. And my manager holds a meeting. I cannot go to this meeting because I'm getting a HIDA scan done. And if you don't know what that is, it is a gallbladder functionality test where they basically fill you with these radioactive isotopes and then do a bunch of x-rays over you to see how your body is processing this, and basically just shows you how your organs are functioning. That was kind of a messy party. And this test is like, it could take really anywhere from like 1 hour to 6 hours. It really just depends on your digestive system. And so when I told them I was having this done, I was like, I may be back. I may not be back. I don't know. But I do have a doctor's appointment. And so they start calling me, and they get really, really upset. And I'm, can't answer my phone because I'm in the x-ray room. Right. Can't have metal in there. And so my mom starts answering my phone, and they start yelling at her. And she starts yelling back because my mom's aggressive.
Oh, jeez.
And they get into like a spat. And I'm like, whatever. I'll fix it when I get there. They knew I had a doctor's appointment. This is not a surprise. And the next day, another manager, we're going to call her Jess, calls me into her office. And this office is very, very tiny, like a closet. And there's one door and no windows. And I suffer from PTSD. So one of my triggers is being locked in rooms and being unable to get out. So she brings me in, and she sits me against the wall, and she's in between me and the door. And she starts asking me questions about yesterday. And she's like, well, why weren't you at the meeting? And I was like, I had a doctor's appointment. I couldn't come. And she starts getting really, really angry. And she's like, well, that meeting was specifically for you. And I'm confused because in my experience, just being alive, when people want to talk to you one-on-one, just for you, they pull you aside, they pull you into their office, like where I am now. You know, I didn't say this, but I was thinking it out. So I was like, I was
they
confused.
inform you that they want to talk to you, not just expect you to know.
Yeah. And she explains that this meeting was for me. And I later found out from another girl that worked there that it was literally about somebody sighing and rolling their eyes at Rachel and that it was very disrespectful. And and I was like, what? What? So
excuse me?
As Jess is yelling at me, I'm like having a panic attack and I'm not in the right mindset to defend myself and explain because, you know, I've had people that have seen these two ticks overlap, like say something to me, and like I am always so thankful for that, and I apologize. I'm like, no, it's literally a facial tick. Like I'm not sighing at this person. Like I literally don't even know them. Like, you know, we're fine.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm not really in a position to defend myself while I'm like literally fighting off a panic attack.
Oh, and yeah, no.
So eventually I leave, and I go back out, and I'm like trying not to freak the fuck out. And one of the other girls that works there that was super sweet was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm just having a panic attack." And she's like, "Do you want to go outside?" And I'm like, "No, it's okay." Because like
it's fine.
It's fine. Because, you know, like if you're fighting off a panic attack and you just have it, like you're not always going to calm down.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't
really unpredictable.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want to have a full-on panic attack because I might not be able to drive myself home. And I don't want to be stuck here all day. And
screw that.
Yeah.
Especially after that meeting.
Yeah. And I don't want the possibility of me having a panic attack and leaving to lead. Because I wasn't actually fired during this meeting. So I was like, well, if I leave now, I could get fired. And I was taking a gap year, and I was like, I really need money if I want to pay for college. So I'm going to stay. And so I continued to just stay and clean things as best I could, so I didn't have to look up at anybody and face them in the midst of a panic attack.
That's fair. That is very fair.
Yeah. And I knew my firing was coming. So... I put
it was on the horizon.
It was on the horizons, like it was going to happen. Also, there's something weirdly wrong with Rachel if she didn't just grab me the moment it happened and been like, that was incredibly disrespectful. So I was like, you know, I don't want to find out what Rachel is going to do to me. So I'm just going to quit. And so I put in my 2 weeks, and like at the end of all of that, like last day I was cleaning up. It's the end of the week. We were throwing out pies and cakes and stuff that were going to go bad over the weekend. And I decide, victory lap, let's dunk a pie into the trash can. And I power dunked it, and I missed by like a whole foot, and it went all over the table and all over the floor and all over my shoes.
No.
And everyone just sat there and stared at me like I was a fucking menace to society.
They're like, this bitch.
They're like, I am so glad she is quitting. And actually, I talked to somebody else that worked there, and he said, oh, I thought you got fired. Apparently, Rachel went around and told everybody that I was fired. And I was like,
oh
no.
My God.
Listen, I have dignity. I quit that job.
Rude as hell. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And apparently she told everyone that I got fired over messing up an order of like custom cookies, which I did do. But
to be fair, I did it. But that wasn't the reason I was gone.
Yeah. Nobody taught me how to, you know how like sometimes you get a pizza and there's those little tables on it that keep it from touching the top of the box. Mm-hmm. Nobody taught me how to put those tables in with cookies that had custom frosting on it. So I just laid the other cookies on top, and I ruined them.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was my fault. Because in the midst of social anxiety panic, I didn't ask for help.
It's
But that was
fair,
not the reason
honestly.
I was fired. So, just to be clear.
There were a lot of fireable offenses, but that wasn't the one that did it.
Yes. Also, I was getting paid the most out of everybody there, and I had been there the shortest amount of time, and I was the worst worker. So I don't understand why I was getting paid the most.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to make much sense.
Yeah, and this girl that was really nice that I mentioned earlier, we're going to call her Catherine. Like, why was Catherine not getting paid more? Because Catherine was literally like 3 years older than me. She had been working there for like 4 years, and she was super nice and literally one of the best employees. And she was making minimum wage, and I was making $10. And I'm like, I don't understand.
That's like a drastic difference, too.
I'm so confused why they didn't dock my pay. Like, what? Who are you? What did I do to make you people think that you had faith in me? Like,
because we quickly learned you shouldn't have.
You should not. You should not trust me with any responsibility. You really shouldn't. This podcast is going to go downhill if I'm left in charge of everything. Like, thank God for Lexie and Ever, because honestly, if it were me in charge of most of this stuff, this would never get done.
I get stressed if I'm not in control of things. Not in like an over the top way. So it works out well.
Yeah. No, that's good because I can't be in control of anything. I cannot be trusted.
Oh gosh. Well, it works out for us then, because perfect opposites. They say opposites attract, folks.
Yep. And thank God, because wow. So I guess since we have some extra time, I'm gonna go into the other stories.
Oh, please do.
So I'm gonna start with the amputees. So
all right.
we had like a discount for veterans, which a lot of places do.
Right.
And we mostly got older veterans that were like Vietnam War era kind of veterans. And we all looked the same. Like everybody that worked there was a white woman between the ages of 18 and 25. Like other than the managers, that was all who worked there. We all had brown hair that was in ponytails, and almost all of us had brown eyes, and we were all pasty as fuck. So like we all looked the same. So I completely understand why these amputees thought we were all different people or the same people, because I definitely had people try to have conversations with me that they had with Catherine the week before, and I'm like, I am not that girl.
Different girl.
Different girl. Anyway, there was this one guy that was missing a hand, and another that was missing a finger, and they would often do things like, pretend to, like, when they were checking out, pull money out of their wallet or out of their pockets, and they're like, oh, my hand's missing, like, or they would hand you money, and then they would be like, oh, you got my finger, and
oh my gosh,
like, it is funny, but also there were other people that were amputees behind them that were not with them often, like, and I was like, do I laugh at this? Will it offend the other people behind them? Because I had to check them out next. Also,
right.
It was just awkward because I didn't know if it was appropriate to laugh. I didn't know what to do. I'm awkward, okay?
I feel that.
I was an awkward 17-year-old kid at this time. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I could barely interact with anyone. I didn't even know how to ask for help at things at my job that I didn't know how to do. So, like, everything
really wasn't sure how to react.
Really,
here.
I was super awkward, and I just couldn't handle anything outside of the norm with very strict structure. Like,
I would have been so uncomfy.
I didn't know what to do.
Because, like, in that position, I would be like, I know when I tell jokes that, like, are regarding trauma, like, they're funny to me, but to other people, not. And I'm like, it's okay, you can laugh.
And like, if it were just him, I probably would have laughed. And I did try to give the guy his finger back once. I was like, here's your finger. And then I was really awkward about it. And it was really uncomfortable. And he didn't laugh. So
he didn't
laugh.
Lord.
And I was like, oh my God, kill me. So
no, oh my God.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, I don't know how to handle these situations. And eventually I just stopped acknowledging it because I didn't know what else to do. And I was 17. Okay. So don't leave me alone. So
Oh gosh, I feel like in that position, you just like that guy should have just laughed to like knowing that
Even
you were
just
trying
awkward
your
laughter,
best.
yes.
Exactly.
Like, I'm just doing my best here. Like, I don't know how to respond. Like, and also, like, somebody joking about their own personal trauma, it's like, okay, they think that's funny. Like, that's a thing that they're over now.
Right.
Like, I guess it would be the same for amputations, but like, I don't know. Not everybody feels that way about
Right.
like their amputation. You know, that's a very like difficult thing for some people. So I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. And some people could have like, you know, been in a terrible accident or had a horrible illness. Like, it's not funny to
True.
them. So I'm like, oh God, what do I do?
Yeah, it's really hard to kind of
It's hard to gauge that. Yes, especially if you don't know them. 'Cause,
Right.
like, if I have a friend who's an amputee and they joke about it all the time, I'm like, okay, this is totally a fine thing to joke about with them.
Right, exactly. And like even if you did make a joke and it offends them, it's not the end of the world because like it's your friend and you can talk to them and
Yes.
you know, fix the situation.
And see, if I
Whereas
were
with
to offend a customer, I get
Right.
fired. So
right.
wasn't looking to get fired. I did though. So
So here we are.
So here we are, several years later, and I still have a job. So I'm gonna
Party.
go into the man who licks.
Oh goodness gracious.
So we had this man that would come in often, and he did this to several employees. And you know, in a bakery, like everything is messy. Like there's flour everywhere, there's frosting everywhere. Like you often just get things on your sleeves and on your arms. Like it's not possible to stay clean in a bakery. It's just not going to happen. And this man would often come in and try to order things, like to go or just like for a future order or for catering. And we had these counters that were about chest high. So oftentimes when we were taking notes, we would lean against them and we'd put our arms up on the counters. And if anybody had anything on their sleeves or on their arms or on their hands, he would wipe it off with his finger, lick it, and go, you got buttercream on your arm.
He needed to be banned right then and there.
I have never, when it happened to me, I didn't know whether to scream or cry or laugh. And I don't think I've ever been so close to a sexual predator before in my life.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It was genuinely a horrifying experience. Oh my God.
He needs to be on like a list of some sort, like a do not serve.
I know. And I thought this was just like a one-time thing. Apparently this happened to several people over the years.
No. Oh my God. Yeah, that's, nope.
Yeah.
He's like a serial licker.
I know. I'm like, please don't, sir. Please don't. Because when I heard that had happened to somebody else, I just sat there in disbelief and I was like, oh my God. This wasn't like a weird, like, you know, maybe he was high or drunk.
Right.
Like, no, this was like a thing that he just
This is a habit.
Yeah. This is a habit. This is his MO. Like,
oh my God, that's terrifying. I think that honestly was, I think the scariest aspect.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I couldn't give a shit. Like, I really couldn't. Like, I spent
We were past giving a shit.
We were. I spent a lot of that year drunk. A lot of that year I don't remember. Actually, Ever, who does our editing and our mixing, she is a childhood friend of mine and remembers a lot of that year that I don't remember. And yeah, she's had to fill me in a few times on just things that I did in that year, and I just sit there in disbelief, and I'm like I
really
cannot believe that happened, that I did that.
Oh my gosh. I am so ready to hear more of these stories down the line.
Yes, I stole a lot of street signs.
Oh my gosh. I think my mother did that with some of her friends because it said the last name of her boyfriend at the time when she was in high school.
Oh yeah, I would just find things, and I was just drunk all the time. Like I also worked at a law firm during this time, and I tried to steal. I'll go into this story another time, but it's Grey Goose, Jasper, and the Stop Sign Caper. So,
what an awesome title!
Oh, it is. I'm excited to tell this one. It was horrifying and embarrassing, and it's also like a mini story. So I'll probably have several stories on the law firm when I tell this story.
Oh, perfect.
But yeah, it was.
I'm eager for that.
This whole year was a fever dream to me. 2016 is just not a year I want to relive.
My most distinct memory is finding out that Donald Trump won the election in the middle of the night, sobbing, staying home from school, and eating an entire jar of pickles.
Oh, that's what started the riots at my campus.
Oh, good.
I'll get into that one too, but I spent the
Perfect.
entire night in the woods in the rainforest smoking weed and eating chips.
Party hard, bitches.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well that was a lovely story. And I cannot wait to hear more of your life.
It's wild.
So today I am telling a story of a historical figure named Hugh Glass.
Huge ass.
Exactly.
I hate myself.
Every fucking time I looked at his name, I was like, huge ass. Nope, that's not it. So I'll just say my sources so I don't get sued. I used Encyclopedia Britannica, my fave encyclopedia, Weird History on YouTube, and I also used a little bit of Wikipedia.
Love Wikipedia.
We do love Wikipedia.
Everyone says not to cite her, but she is a glorious woman.
She really is. Truly has helped me many a time. You may have heard of Hugh Glass because he is a historical figure that Leonardo Dicaprio played in the award-winning movie called The Revenant, and that came out, I think that was in 2016. Not positive, but that is, and so Leonardo DiCaprio played Hugh Glass, and that is the one and the only role that won him his Oscar.
That poor man.
I know. he's been cheated.
I know. He's not only does he give great performances, but he has almost froze to death on set. He's like almost died doing stunts on set.
Like he deserves Oscars just for that.
Yeah, like compensate the man a little bit.
Seriously.
He's like unbelievably wealthy, but still,
True.
give him an award.
So he finally got his Oscar playing Hugh Glass. All right, so Hugh Glass was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Electric City, in 1783.
You just know that.
Just say, Scranton, what? The Electric City? Okay. So he was born in Scranton in 1783. Not much is known about his early life. I looked around, couldn't really find anything. I believe his parents were immigrants, and that's all I could really find about his early life. So he is known for being a frontiersman, but before he was a frontiersman, he sailed around and, did his thing. I don't know what that thing was, but he did it. And so eventually his boat was attacked by a group of pirates led by French pirate Jean Lafitte. And so when Glass and his crew were captured, he was given the choice to either become a pirate for Jean or just die, get killed right there. So naturally, he chose to become a pirate. He didn't want to, but it was better than being murdered. So he became a pirate, and he lived that wild-ass life with the squad for 2 years. So he's like plundering and murdering, and he's not really enjoying it because he didn't want to do that, but
yeah, piracy is no joke either. Like,
seriously.
A lot of people, when they think of piracy, they think of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I'm like, guys, piracy is incredibly whitewashed in television because they can't show you a lot of the things that pirates just did on a regular basis. Because it was that gruesome and horrifying and terrible. Just disturbing.
So yeah, he was forced to live that life. He did not want to, but as I said, it was better than being murdered. So eventually he was able to escape. He jumped overboard with another crew member. And so he finally got to shore. And when he got to shore, he was in Karankawa Native American territory, who absolutely hate pirates, especially European pirates.
Well, I should hope so. I don't think anybody likes to be plundered and robbed.
Exactly. So it was fair. So he had to navigate hostile territory, and he worked to make his way to Kansas from there. So once he was in Kansas, Glass was captured by a tribe of Pawnee Native Americans along with the crew member he was traveling with. And supposedly, when they captured him, they strung them both up by their feet, and he watched as his fellow crew member got, it says, stabbed full of pine needles, is what it said. I don't know how that works, but it didn't sound comfortable.
I don't know how you stab somebody with pine needles. I mean,
Right. I feel like they just snap.
they're
Like,
so brittle. Yeah.
right. But I guess he was stabbed full of pine needles. Maybe there was a bad translation or something.
Maybe it's
in there.
maybe porcupine quills. Like that would be believable.
See that? Oh, right, exactly.
Yeah,
but
I feel like that would
needles.
be a good torture method. Just
right,
porcupine needles.
Just shank him. So he was stabbed full of pine needles and then set on fire. So Hugh Glass watched that happen to his fellow crew member.
Literally a tinderbox just filled with pine needles.
Seriously. He's like, let's load him up. Here we go.
Here we go. We only have to worry about wood because he's covered in pine needles.
So they were about to do the same to Hugh Glass. But before they could, he presented the tribe with vermilion, which is a red like substance. I think it comes from like copper and some other stuff. It's like a powder, so it's like a dye, but it was used for war paint. And the tribe loved it so much that they're like, we're going to let you go. And not only that, you can live with us as long as you want. So he was like, all right, that's chill, lit, thanks.
How much vermilion did this man have?
I have no idea. I was like, he presented them with vermilion.
He just had it on him. I mean, where did you get it? I mean, I'm sure he got it from being a pirate.
Right, that's true.
Because it's not like he's a miner or anything.
Right. So he just kind of grabbed that and they enjoyed it. And they enjoyed it enough to let him go. And they were like, yeah, live with us. And so he lived with them for like several years, even got married to a member of the tribe. But eventually in 1822, he responded to an ad in the Missouri Gazette and Public Advertiser that was looking for a group of 100 men to, quote, ascend the River Missouri for a fur trading expedition.
Fun.
He was like, this is for me. I want to fucking do it. So he responded. And they accept him. We're like, all right, come on down. And so not long after the departure in 1823, the fur trading group, was attacked by Arikara warriors and Glass was shot in the leg. So rough time. So they decided to return to Fort Kiowa where they left. And they kind of regrouped there. And once they regrouped and everything was good and he was healed up, they all decided to head towards the Yellowstone River. And so they went there, and while out hunting and just looking for provisions in general, Glass stumbled into the territory of a mother grizzly bear and her 2 cubs. And so, as you can assume, this was a pleasant experience. So Glass got McWrecked by the grizzly, who reportedly threw chunks of his flesh to her cubs as she mauled him.
As one does to feed her children.
A mother does what she's got to do.
Got to do what you got to do. You got to feed them cubs, okay?
A woman. So she was just feasting, and Glass just kind of laid there and was fighting back, and his party caught up to him, and with their help, they managed to kill the bear. But Glass was left somehow alive, but he had a bunch of gashes, broken bones, especially his leg specifically was broken. He had a punctured throat, apparently, as well as a torn scalp.
Oh,
and so,
fun.
Yeah.
Delicious.
So
Flavortown.
Flavortown is right. Just Guy Fieri standing there being like, welcome to Flavortown, bitches.
Take a bite.
Take a bite. Even though he's not Southern. I don't know why I gave him an accent.
Everyone has a Southern accent in my book. It doesn't matter if you're British, if you're Australian, doesn't matter. Everything is a Southern accent if it's an accent.
It's like, that's the accent you're getting.
It's the only one I can do.
So they decided, because he was still, kicking, they're like, he's gonna die soon. He's gonna die by morning. So they were like, we'll make a makeshift stretcher And so they put Glass on there and carried him along because they're like, we want to be able to give him a proper burial. He'll die soon anyway. But this made the trip a lot slower, and it was also a bit harder because, you know, the terrain was subpar at best. And they're traveling hundreds of miles.
With a, like, basically soon-to-be corpse, I feel like it would be more humane just to have shot him. Like,
fair.
I mean, because, in this time, the man's been scalped. His internal organs are showing, I'm assuming, at this rate.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you're going to recover from that in this time period.
He should have been a goner immediately. Somehow he wasn't.
I mean, just willpower, man. Willpower.
True. Good for him, honestly. I mean, in that position, I'd be like, let me go. Just let me go. Send me down the river.
Forget about it, man. Just
we gone. So they carried him along, but because that made the trip a lot more difficult, they were like, okay, we're going to leave him behind, but we need some people, some men to volunteer to stay behind so that they can bury him when he dies. And then they can come up and catch up with us. So two men, John Fitzgerald and Jim Bridger, decided that they would volunteer to watch Glass until he died, which again was expected to be in about a day, so it shouldn't have been too long. So expecting Glass to die soon, Fitzgerald and Bridger dug a shallow grave for him, and they ended up leaving him there, still alive, and took all of his weapons and provisions. So
what a nice group of men.
I know, truly. They're just like, he's taking too long. They claim that they were interrupted by another attack by Arikara warriors, but many people suspect that they simply got tired of waiting for Glass to just die, and they wanted to catch up with their group, which I think is probably the most likely thing that occurred.
I mean, but to be fair, just playing devil's advocate, in that time period, that area is not really well explored. There's no real roads. You don't really know the area. And if you get separated from your group, you're very likely to be attacked by wild animals.
Exactly. So don't really blame them, especially them. Like, in Glass's state, he should have been dead the moment he was attacked. It was a miracle he made it as long as he did. This was days later, and he was still
kind of nuts
kicking.
That they gave him a shallow grave. Like, they're just
know.
We're just going to throw you in this grave. Like, they're not even like, oh, we're going to set you against this tree and just leave you.
Like, this is good enough.
We're going to put you in a grave because we expect you to die here and not move.
Exactly. And they didn't even bury him. They just laid him down. And
at least they didn't bury him alive. Jesus.
True. True. Oh gosh, yeah, that's true. He probably would have been angrier. But yeah, they waited until he was unconscious, and they claimed they caught up with their group once they left him. And when they got there, they claimed that Glass had died, but they knew he wasn't dead when they left. But they didn't want the group to know that they just left a member of their party still alive in the wilderness. So Glass was very much still alive, and he woke up to find himself completely abandoned and without any supplies other than the clothes on his back and the hide from the bear that they had killed of the one that had attacked him. So he supposedly had gashes so deep that his ribs were exposed, and he had to set his own broken leg before he began his journey back to Fort Kiowa, which was over 200 miles away.
Not happening, dude. It's not happening.
I wouldn't walk 200 miles with my non-broken body.
Yeah, I wouldn't walk 200 miles if I was able-bodied.
Right.
If I was abled, I wouldn't walk 200 miles. I just would be so exhausted. And I don't have the survival skills, frankly.
Oh, yeah, I'd be like, let's just roll over and sleep.
Yeah. We're just going to camp out till somebody can rescue me.
Exactly. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
So he started his trek. And he started out by crawling. And so his wounds on his back were so bad that he allowed maggots to feed on the dead flesh in order to prevent gangrene, which
I don't
intelligent but awfully terrible sounding.
Yeah, I know that that's a thing that people do, and that it actually does help in some situations, which is just noodles to me.
Yeah.
But
Baffling.
whatever, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Like, I feel like in that position, like, I don't know, but I feel like in that position, I would still be like, I don't know if I have the willpower to let maggots crawl all over my wounds.
Oh, same. And like, I think if you don't take them out within a certain time period, it will make it worse.
That's true.
Because,
That would
like,
make sense.
so my sister works at a barn, and horses sometimes just get maggots. Like, they might not even have an open wound, they just get them. And they have to, like, squeeze them. Sorry, this is so gross. But they have to, like, squeeze them out of the horse. Like, it's disgusting.
What a fun time.
I know. I'm like,
An
horse
enjoyable
girls get
job
into
right
some
there.
nasty shit. I mean, some of the things
Those
that she's
poor
had
horses.
to do for horses is, like, truly revolting. Like,
damn.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, so he was like, all right, guess I'll let these maggots eat my flesh. So for a while, he simply crawled. But when he realized fully, he was like, no one's coming for me. I've been left for dead. He was like, his one goal was to get back and get revenge on the men who left him behind, specifically Fitzgerald and Bridger, because they were left to watch him and stay with him. But they just left him when they knew he was alive. So he was like, I'm going to get my revenge. So he started his crawl of 250 or so miles. His crawl to victory, for sure. And so he began, and he ate mostly berries and roots, and some insects. He would occasionally kill and eat snakes as well. He would drink from rivers and creeks. And at one point, he came upon a small group of wolves feeding on a bison. And he was like, all right, I'm just going to go scare them away and take their food. And somehow that worked. So the wolves just yeeted off, and he went to the carcass.
Which seems so unlikely, considering that he was, like, crawling and wounded and probably smelled like a dead animal anyway.
Right.
Like, why? I mean, I know wolves typically don't want anything to do with people, but that seems wild that just scared him off.
Right. Because, like, right there, that's a free meal, even if they, if they want it, free meal. And not a threat to them either, clearly.
Also, like, you really shouldn't eat raw meat. I mean, I know you can, but, like, should you? Probably not, especially after it's got all that bacteria from being in the hot sun and being in the mouths of literal wild animals. Like,
just chilling on the floor, the forest floor.
It's fine.
So he went up and he was like, yeah, I'm going to eat this. So he ate it, and it gave him some strength and energy. And so eventually he healed. And so once he had healed enough to walk, he did just that. And he got a large walking stick to help him. And so he was finally able to walk and make a little more distance, opposed to just, dragging his corpse basically across the forest floor.
How? I don't know. Like, your organs are showing. You've been scalped. Like,
drag, like an intestine hanging out.
I know. I'm like, you should have died from infection, like, so long ago.
I know. And like, sources said that there are probably aspects of the story that are embellished, but even if that were the case, with a lot of them being embellished, it's still he was attacked by a bear, survived, had terrible wounds, somehow made it through.
Alone, too. Like, for 200
exactly.
miles, which, like, if you're crawling, that's probably several weeks.
Oh, yeah. And so once he started walking, he was like, all right, here we go. We making some progress. So after some time, he came upon a tribe of friendly Sioux Native Americans, and they tended to his wounds before helping him eventually return to Fort Kiowa. So once he was at the fort, he only spent enough time there in order to heal before he set out with French fur traders. And he was like, all right, I'm going to get back in the game. And also I'm going to get my revenge on these bitches that left me for dead. So they started their adventure, and they came upon an abandoned village where they were supposed to be conducting fur trades, but were attacked by a tribe of Native Americans who had taken over that area. So everyone in Glass's group was killed, except for him. Somehow he made it through once again. So a group of I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but I think it's like Mandan Native Americans. They came in and saved him before the Re-tribe could kill him. So they came
This
right in the
man
nick of
is
time.
incredibly lucky
I
in
know.
so many ways.
It's just like, oh yeah, I'll get mauled by a bear, survive, have my ribs showing, break some bones, get attacked, but survive again.
He's just like a magnet for chaos, but he's so lucky that he just survives every single time.
Right. He's like, my life is just meant to be wild, so I'm only living to tell these stories.
There's people that are like that. I swear to God, there are people that just like attract chaos. I'm probably one of them. Like,
that's how you got me here.
that's how I'm getting all these sick stories. Like,
hey,
like I don't know, just like magnets for chaos.
Oh, truly. Oh gosh, I would believe that. He certainly has had far too much happen to him.
Yeah.
So he got saved. And so it was now 6 months after he had been left for dead. And this is when he came upon his old group that he was with when he was attacked. And he found them in a stockade at Fort Henry. But Fitzgerald wasn't there, only Bridger was. And so when Glass realized that Bridger was only about 19 years old, he forgave him because he was a teenager and so young. And he was like, you're kind of just an innocent person in this situation. Fitzgerald is the one to blame. So he forgave him and he moved on and seeking. And I could not. Wow, I just totally, my mind went blank.
Dude, same. I don't know what it is, but my brain is just like hazing out right now, and I'm like, focus.
I was like talking, I was like, it's gone. It just disappeared from my mind. Maybe. So he forgave Bridger. And then he was like, all right, let's go get Fitzgerald. So it was some rough weather. It was winter. So he wasn't able to leave for a few months. So once weather allowed it, he took a boat downriver towards Fort Atkinson, where he was told that Fitzgerald was. So once again, of course, this wouldn't be a trip without a nice, mishap or attack of some sort. So during the trip, the group was attacked by Native Americans.
Again.
Again. They really didn't like them.
No. They wanted them the fuck out of there.
They're like, go away, white man. Fuck you, which is relatable. So they were attacked. And while some people escaped, Glass was left alone in the woods again and had to walk another 400 miles to his destination. So,
beautiful.
Poor guy.
This man is just trekking across America.
I know. Everyone's leaving him behind. They're like, hey, he can handle it. He survived the bear attack. He's good.
Like, Glass survived a bear attack. He can handle this, like, insane hike across the country, like, on foot. It's fine.
He's like, So, yeah, he made it through. Once again, in hostile territory, in the forest, in the wild, with animals, like, truly a dangerous trek. And he made it. So he made his way 400 miles, and upon reaching Fort Atkinson, he found out that Fitzgerald had joined the U.S. Army, and if Glass were to kill him, he would be hunted down and hanged for killing a soldier.
Oh, Jesus. And he had to go all the way there to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. No one told him, apparently, until then.
Like, even his members of his old crew, they could have just been like, hey, and, he's also now in the army, and you can't kill him, so.
But nope, they're like, all right, he can make the trek, I guess. And so when he found that out, he was forced to give up his plan of revenge. And he left with nothing but his original rifle. So the captain or the commander made Fitzgerald give back the rifle that belonged to Glass that Fitzgerald has stolen.
So the captain just knows that Fitzgerald had left this man for dead. And they're like, oh, that's fine. You can stay in the army, even though that you're just going to leave your comrades for dead if they ever, get caught in a battle. It's fine.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I don't know if he knew until then, because everyone assumed he was dead.
Yeah.
But like, he found out and he was like, all right, well, give him his rifle back that you stole, at least. And They also gave him $300 as compensation for the hardships he faced.
No, dude. Nah.
And today that is $7,300.
Still not enough. The man left me for dead. I want my $1 million.
Exactly. It's like, I will take you to court over that one, sir.
I know. I will win this money in court, bitch. Like,
oh my God. But yeah, so he got $300 for his hardships, which
not cool.
Wasn't enough at all.
Not cool.
So he didn't get his
revenge. Like Fitzgerald should have been fired. I mean, if I'm in the military and like I want the guys I'm fighting with to have my back, and if he's just gonna leave people for dead, I don't want him fighting with me.
Exactly.
He's gonna leave me to die.
Right. It's like, am I next? It's like, hopefully I'm not with him.
I know, right?
So he got his rifle, got his money, and was forced to give up his dream of revenge. So at this point, Glass returned to work as a trapper and fur trader, and he eventually died 10 years later in 1833 when his group was attacked by Arikara Native Americans once again.
Wow, he survived Native American attacks like countless times. Like that's, I mean, you can only get so lucky so many times, but damn.
Like he was attacked one time too many, apparently. So yeah, he died. I can't remember how old he was. I could do the math. He was 50, I believe.
That's pretty good for that time period. I mean, I feel like the average like lifespan probably in the 50s or 60s.
Right, and having gone through everything he did, I would think.
And surviving a bear attack and like not having, the surgery probably needed to correctly set and heal a broken leg like that.
Right.
Not to mention being scalped. Imagine what this man's head looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've never seen a picture of anybody that survived a scalping. Like,
oh yeah, screw that. Not a pain I want to imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he died at a pretty good age. There's now a monument near where he was mauled. Not positive what it says.
Here's a place that somebody got mauled by a bear and almost died. Keep an eye out for bears.
They're like right here, right at that tree. And there's also a statue at the Grand River Museum. I'm sure there's some more, but those are the ones that I heard of. The statue at the Grand River Museum is pretty majestic looking, so I suggest looking it up. But yeah, that's the wild story of Hugh Glass and how he escaped death far too many times and came back to life basically for revenge.
Where the fuck is his wife, though?
Oh, yeah, I always wondered that. Said nothing about his wife. I looked everywhere. It's like,
he just left his wife on a fur training mission, almost died, didn't go home to her, went for revenge, didn't get his revenge, went back to fur training. Where the fuck is his wife?
She's back with their tribe, I guess.
I know. Like, I mean, I'm sure he had kids, too. Like, you just gonna leave your kids and your wife? Okay. He's an asshole.
He's like, bye, bitch. I got my own plans.
Like, I don't got time for a wife and kids.
Men these days. These baby daddies always be leaving.
I know, right? God, can't have a damn reliable baby daddy anywhere.
Amen to that. But yeah, so that's the story of Hugh Glass, and he had a wild-ass life. But yeah, I thought that would be a nice one to kick off the podcast.
I like it. I like the bear man.
I'm glad. But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. If you would like to contact us and give us suggestions for stories or historical stories that you'd like to hear, feel free to send us an email at youdon'tlookitpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube. We'll be posting our episodes there, just the audio. And that is also You Don't Look It Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at You Don't Look It Podcast. And that also, if you want an easy link to all of our social media platforms, there's a link in our Instagram bio that links to our YouTube, our Facebook, our Twitter, all of that. But you can find us under You Don't Look It Podcast on all of those. And if you so desire, we have a Patreon that you can also find, which is, once again, You Don't Look It Podcast. And you can find that either by searching or under the link in our Instagram bio. And we're still working on tiers for Patreon. And I know we've made a private patron-only Facebook group as well as a Discord channel. We're hoping to do Q&As and shout outs and stuff like that. We'd love to hear from you guys of what you'd like to see in the different tiers. And we'll be working. So right now we only have one tier, but we would love to add some more if you guys have specific ideas. We're hoping to maybe do a listener story each month to hear some of your crazy stories that you want us to share.
And the listener story would be free. Just like send them in.
Oh, hell yeah. Just send them in. You have a story you want to tell us?
You don't have to be a Patreon for that.
Oh,
we
yeah.
We would love to hear them.
Oh, yeah. Send that in. You can send that email or message on Instagram, anything. Email's probably a little easier, but we'll see it either way because we'd love to hear your stories.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
All I desire.
All I desire is to hear wild stories from other people because, like, I'm not that weird of a person. I'm not that wild of a person. And so much wild shit has happened to me.
Exactly.
Imagine if you're actually a wild person. Like,
it's like, I want to be baffled. Send me
what
those
if you're like
stories.
My sister and you're just feral? Like, yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, we'd love to hear your stories, and we would like to share that. We'd probably want to do one episode a month where we can pick a handful of stories and share your guys's, because that'd be a lot of fun to hear the different crazy things that happen to other people and not just the crazy things that happen to each other. But yeah, feel free to follow us on any of our social medias. Hit us up. You can also follow our personal accounts if you want, which you can find via our Instagram page. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back next week with some more fun stories for you guys.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yes.
And we hope you guys like it.
Yes. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye. And so I often had this one manager who we're going to call Rachel.
This is for Rachel, you big, fat, white, nasty, smelling, fat bitch. Why you took me off the motherfucking schedule with your trifling, dirty, white, racist ass, big, fat bitch, unbelong body ass bitch. I'm coming up there and I'm